Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of the Watch Engine Show. We're excited to be talking about before camera got on, talking about football and the hectic weekend that was the NFL playoffs. It was crazy.
My Falcons getting shut down. It hurts. It hurts so bad.
Well, at least they didn't get ruined by Facebook and
Right.
Cox's ticker. So I didn't get to see either of the games yesterday because I already knew the results. It was terrible.
So in Arkansas, since I'm from Atlanta, so obviously I kind of have loyalty there. Without having professional teams, where do y'all typically sit on like the professional sports realm of who you support?
I mean, it's usually the Cowboys in
Yeah.
football.
Yeah.
Blake and I are both an exception in
Outliers,
Arkansas,
sure.
but no, it's the Razorbacks. That is our professional team, and they just happen to be a college team. So that's it. That's the only allegiance.
It's the only one.
Yeah.
Nobody else. Basketball's good though.
Yeah, so far. We'll
Sometimes.
see.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, Blake, if you want to start us in.
Nobot asks, how do you conduct proper market research when introducing new products?
Market research on that. I mean, that's an interesting question. The way we used to do it was to cheat a little bit. So we'd put it out. There were two different aspects of this. So we developed our own private label of boots. And one thing that we did was, with 8 million Facebook fans, we were able to go out and say, before we even manufactured these boots, which ones would you like? So we'd have, let's say, 100 designs of boots. And we put them out and let the crowd's wisdom vote on that. Would you pre-order this? Do you like this? Thumbs down, etc. And so through that data, it was really easy. Most people don't have 8 million Facebook fans, and nor the ability to create 100 products from scratch without putting it out there. But the principle's the same. I mean, it's asking customers and getting their feedback. Mm-hmm. And that's no different than what we're doing here with Engine. It's, are you solving a real problem? Is this going to resonate with your target market? So there's nothing that beats just good old-fashioned phone calls or face-to-face meetings or WebEx, watching people surf the site. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think core there is knowing your customer, talking to them, and then creating a conversation about what they want and how they see kind of your site expanding their products. Like having that dynamic conversation between your audience and your customers.
Yeah. I mean, I know we were talking about it last week. So Riff Raff, which is a company here in Fayetteville, I was really impressed by their Instagram story last week because they incentivized people to respond back for what they wanted. So they had Instagram stories, and it was, do you want more accessories or boots on the site? Do you want more of this or that? And if you answered all of their questions, they gave you a gift card. And to me, that's great feedback from a customer, and it's bringing the customers into that feedback loop. Now, question with, there's kind of two schools of thought here with, if you asked people what they wanted, they would have said they want a faster horse versus a car. Mm-hmm. So at what point do you, and I guess it depends on the brand, and if you're a private label and you're creating your own product, at what point do you create something that you think the consumer will want before asking them?
That's typically the way I've done it. I mean, if you look at do as I say, not as I do, typically in today's world of minimum viable products, in today's world of moving data around fast, in today's virtual warehousing that you can do with e-commerce, just put it out there and get real world feedback. And if no one buys it, it's not worth doing. Look at how Zappos started. So what they did is they went down to the local Foot Locker, I think, and took pictures of 100 shoes or whatever, put them on their website, and hit the go button. They didn't have any inventory, but when someone would come in and buy one of the shoes, they'd go down to Foot Locker, buy it, fulfill the order. And through that, they did it without risk. They did it without committing to those 100 pairs of 100 styles of shoes. I mean, maybe they learned something. Maybe they found 2 or 3 or 4 that really worked. They took inventory and something like that or similar to that from manufacturers like that or similar to that. And that was the process. You got to figure out a way to cheat in today's world. So that solves both problems. The data is always skewed if you just ask someone what they want. Yeah. Or if you say, hey, if we build this, will you do it? Yeah, it sounds great. That's completely different than voting with their wallet. You're exactly right.
Yeah, and I think that to that point, I think that's where a lot of times people, when they jump into business, having a little bit of patience to understand that it's worth the risk to not make margin on a product, but not have the inventory, not have the sunk cost going into it. Sell things at cost. Once you're selling them at a predictable CPM, a predictable cost per acquisition, then bring in inventory, and that's when you increase your margins and optimize.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, then it's an exercise in optimization through a gross margin return on investment calculation on how much inventory to carry and what inventory to carry, and how many turns you want and all that. At that point, it becomes data science, and that's relatively easy. The beginning is a lot harder, so you have to cheat and scrape by unless you're super well funded, and even if you are super well funded, you're gonna lose all that money rapidly if you don't have a good system on how to expand horizontally.
And to wrap this question up, so for Country Outfitter especially, did you have a failure rate? You knew that for every 10 designs you put out, only one was going to actually be profitable. What was that like when you were doing that?
Unfortunately, we just weren't very good at it. So our failure rate was off the charts in a bad way. I mean, we were kind of building something I don't guess there was necessarily a demand for. But no, we found some hits that way. It was nowhere near as good as it would have been had we had, let's say, 100 really good designs and you picked the best 8 of those. I mean, we had maybe 20 of the 100 were even wearable. Like, it was that level of bad. But a few really, really good things came out of it, even though we didn't necessarily know what we're doing. Yeah, we refined the process and eventually got fairly good, but I left before I got to see the end of that and shepherd it into a real big brand. But a lot of learnings from that, but pretty low hit rate, to be blunt. Yeah,
That's fair. That's fair.
Clark W. Griswold asks, how can I turn this blog post into a selling machine?
I'm sure it's a good blog post.
Well, yeah, I mean, the first thing is, hey, just because it has all of your traffic does not mean it's the right kind of traffic. And I kind of look back at, again, to harp on my old experience, but so Facebook changed their algorithm on us. We had 8 million Facebook fans, and we were posting pictures of products there and getting a very high rate of people seeing them. 50-60% of people, those 8 million fans would see, and we'd get a good deal of revenue every time we posted. Well, Facebook changed their algorithm, and they said, no, you can't post products anymore. So what we did was started posting content. So we built a content site that ended up getting, I think, 14-15 million uniques in its biggest month. What we realized pretty quickly was, hey, we wrote about the country music lifestyle, and we sold cowboy boots. Well, if we said, hey, Blake Shelton and Miranda Lambert getting a divorce, traffic off the charts, sales, nothing. And so you had to find that medium of what the post was about and the ability to drive algorithms on Facebook. So if you wrote, for instance, your 12 favorite boots to wear to a country music festival or something like that, maybe the engagement wasn't quite as high, but revenue did flow out of that experience. And so what we did on the posts that were, let's say, Blake and Miranda getting a divorce, so clearly not in the sell product realm, we made it very focused on gaining an email address. So we'd do an email pop-up and say, hey, sign up, here's a discount. So we try to take it from this very out there, on the fringes of relevant experience to bringing it closer to home. And, that worked a little bit. But, I think it's that. If this is your top converting post, A, is it on topic? If it's not, well, junk it up a little bit and get people, try and push them down the funnel a little bit. And you'll get a little bit of lead gen on that, don't you think?
Especially if you're posting the content, depending on where you're posting, either native or, withholding within your own website, a big thing to understand is that content in and of itself is a great way to introduce. Think about the conversations that you have with people. When you walk up to someone, you're a bad salesman if you walk up and say, buy my stuff.
Right.
But if you walk in and you start talking to them about football, you create context and you create a relationship with the person that you're engaging with. You then follow up with them within Facebook, within Google. You can retarget on infinite amounts of ways that they engage with you, how long they're on the site. There's so many ways to create the conversation. So being able to, in sales, the best salespeople are people who you never realize you're being sold. And so when you come in and you create context, you create a relationship in the form of cowboy boots. Talking about country music is a way, it's a handshake to get in. And like you said, drive and find ways and find the highest converting way to then translate that into a sale.
Well, the thing about that is it can't be done once.
Yeah.
So if you write one article and it goes nuts and there's this huge viral spike, or it ranks really well in Google and it's just this steady repetitive thing, but it's way up at the top of the funnel and it's not close to the buying decision, well, that is great, but you got to do that like 10 times or 50 times. In order for it to be successful, and 50 handshakes before you get a deal, I guess is the way to look at it. So it's not that there's not some value in just content for content's sake and building a relationship, but that's a different strategy, and it's got to be more. There's got to be more to it than just a one-touch, very shallow experience.
Yeah. And Blake, like talking about collecting the email. Once you collect the email, what would you recommend from an email flow perspective when they collect that and they get that 20% off, 10% off, whatever that is? What are your best recommendations right now that you're seeing for when they come in? Do you feed them another piece of relevant content and then you go in for the ask, or do you go for the ask right away because they're going to unsubscribe if they don't?
So I think if they're new to your brand, you need to drop them into a drip that introduces them to who you are. Start off with kind of some shallow content and then dive deeper into product kind of as you continue through that drip over the course of probably 3 or 4 weeks of sending them email once, maybe twice a week max.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean that's the key. If you've got someone at the let's say there's 4 steps in the funnel, and they're at the very first step of the funnel with this piece of content. Well, hit them with retargeting. Well, yeah, ask for their email address, and if you get it, great. And through that, you're going to give them more content and more content and more content and more content, and keep it super engaging. The whole time whispering, "Hey, I actually sell this product."
Yeah.
You can't yell, I sell, because then you get an unsubscribe. Retargeting, maybe you can do that if they perform a very specific action. So they come in on Blake and Miranda are getting a divorce, Carrie Underwood's famous leg workout. They come in on that kind of content. They happen to click over and look at a pair of boots. Well, that's your cue right then. Mm-hmm. Start being more aggressive. Here's the retargeting email flow. Here is a buy this boot email. Here's a Facebook retargeting ad that says buy this. If they happen to go then search for something commerce related over on Google, well, make sure your bid is amped up about 500% above what a normal bid for a regular person Googling that would be. So it's a data point, and done correctly, you can use it to push people down the funnel.
Elise Estrada asks about responding to old Facebook reviews when they're negative and not answered to.
It's honesty and transparency, right? Don't you have to own it, John Max? I mean, don't you have to just say, "Hey, sorry, you're right. We're terrible at this. We'll get better. We're starting today, and we're going to be better." How would you do it?
I think that in this day and age, in the internet, people are much more forgiving of mess ups. What they're not forgiving of is you not responding or trying to cover it up. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, you look at what's going on in pop culture right now. The difference between your career ending and it being a point that you suffer from, but you get to come back, is how you respond. And so even if it's 2 months later, think of it as, number one, think of it as kicking the pants, that you need to be checking this better and you need to be providing a better service. I think the context of this was a restaurant, correct? Mm-hmm. So I mean, with restaurants themselves, like speed, efficiency, I mean, the best tip I ever left was when we had an 8-top and we had to be somewhere in 30 minutes, and the waiter came by and we were like, "Look, if you get us out in 30 minutes, we will be your fans for life." And he did it, and he got a glowing review from all of us, got the best tips. So I mean, it comes with the territory, so own it, allow it to be feedback that changes your behavior inside the restaurant, and then talk about it online. Sorry, we just now got to this. You're totally right. We're going to do better. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, it's that self-effacing quality as well. You can't, if you try to cover that up, you look like a moron. Mm-hmm. If you delete the comment, well, you've just missed a chance to, show people you're human, and people like humans. Yeah. So be human in this, and don't be a jerk. I mean, that to me is probably the 2 main things there.
Well, I also think it's an opportunity for your brand personality to come out too. You can take what could have been a potentially damaging moment and really spin it to kind of self-serve your brand and your brand voice, and let that speak through as you apologize to this customer.
Well, the best piece of feedback is do it this time, and then don't go apologizing again. Once you do it, I mean, you've kind of used your get out of jail free card. And if you're going back and doing that every month, then you clearly have a wrong process in your customer. You need to listen to your customers.
Yeah. And I mean, the worst type of feedback is feedback that no one ever gives you. So this person cared enough about your company to come in and tell you. I mean, like, a lot of people treat customer feedback and treat reviews as this negative connotation, even if it's a bad review, but that's your greatest opportunity to turn someone into a brand ambassador. If someone's upset with you and they're letting you know about it, they're wanting you to do something. And so doing that can actually really, like you said, turn it from a good thing to a positive, or from a bad thing to a positive thing very quickly. What you need to fear is people who are upset and never tell you and never come back. That's when it gets bad, as a restaurant especially.
Great. Is that it for today?
Yeah.
That's it for today, guys. Thank y'all so much. Call to action here. For those of y'all viewing, let us know in the comments what you would like to see more of. Do you like more of the tactical answers? Do you want to see more banter? What do you want to hear more from us here on this show? Let us know in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed already, I'm going to do the first smash that subscribe button 2018, and we'll see y'all tomorrow.